Over the years, I've used a number of lead generation tools, including so-called, lead generation website, and nothing compares to the technology with Favorite Agent. I get good, solid leads from sellers and buyers literally every day. Produced more viable leads probably in 2008 than in any of the 15 years I've been in business. You've got to keep in mind that this year's probably the worst year for real estate in the 15 years I've been in business. So to grow my business in this kind of conditions has just been outstanding.
Well, I have great news. By using Lead Capture Gateway technology, it is possible to know which ads are pulling and which ones are not. It's possible to know exactly where each customer came from and how much each lead cost. Let me give you an example from my own real estate practice. Currently, I split my internet advertising between two sources, Google and Yahoo, formerly Overture. And my cost with Google is slightly lower per visitor, but my CR, my capture rate, is slightly lower as well. And with Yahoo, my per visitor cost is a little higher, but the actual CR, or conversion rate, is also slightly higher. I'm able to monitor each of those advertising expenses in real time. No more waiting until the end of the month to see how the magazine did. No more wondering if an ad is working. I have the answers in real time, and here's how I know. I assign each ad its own unique URL, or that's a fancy way of saying web address. And the server log tracks how many visitors and leads have come in for each URL. I then take this information and make a quick calculation to determine exactly how effective each campaign was. There's no guesswork. This is a business. Let's say that in a week you had 110 visitors who came from your ad in Google. Of those, you had 32 leads. Your Google ad cost was $124. Now, during the same week, you had 98 visitors from your ad in Yahoo, resulting in 30 leads. Your Yahoo bill was $125. Then let's say that your yard sign sent you another 20 visitors, and of those, 10 registered. Total cost for sign leads? $0. Here's how it all breaks out. Google had a CR, or capture rate, of 29.09%, the lead cost of $3.88. I know that because you take $124, what you spent for Google, divided by 32 leads. That gives you $3.88. Okay, Yahoo had a conversion rate, or a capture rate, of 30.61%, and a lead cost of $4.17 per lead. Again, 125 divided by 30. Your yard signs had a capture rate of 50% with a lead cost of 0. 0 divided by 10, you get the idea. The totals were a capture rate of 31.5% with an overall lead cost of $3.46. In other words, $249 total ad spend divided by 72 leads. And this is a very typical example. What would 72 leads every week do for your business? They'd probably force you to start recruiting. Or you'd log in and put your ad campaigns on hold for a while. Either way, your business would be forever changed. But then what if a particular source of advertising was costing you $125 a lead? When I quit doing direct mail, that's what it was costing me. What if sitting an open house cost you half a day on the weekend plus $100 of promotional stuff and you picked up 5 leads? If your time is worth $100 an hour, and it should be, your ad cost was $500. You captured 5 leads. Your cost per lead is $100 a lead. Or what about spending a day passing out flyers? Do the math. Or spending hours a day cold calling. Forget the risk of violating the do not call list and the potential $11,000 fine per incident. What do those leads cost you? What if you could generate hundreds of your own leads for only a few dollars each and then stop when you had enough business? Well, this is exactly how mega-producing agents have begun to spring up around the country. One agent figures out how to produce more leads than he can handle, and before you know it, he has a dominant team taking a huge slice of the local business. Well, that mega agent could easily be you, if you wanted to be. First you get the leads, then you get the listings. Before you know it, you're forced to build your own agent team. And in a year, you have a dozen agents working for you. Most agents know what to do when a customer fills out a CMA request on his website or calls to ask for one. The problem is that those are few and far between. Another concern is that most sellers who ask you for a home valuation also ask several other agents at the same time. Some other common sources for seller leads are FSBOs, or for sale by owner sellers, and expired listings. As with the CMA request, the problem with both FSBOs and expireds is the fact that you'll be competing for those listings with the hungriest and most aggressive agents in your market. And while both are good sources for listings, those properties tend to be tougher to sell, either because the seller is unrealistic or because the property's been stigmatized by having been on the market since before you even began. I like getting my seller leads from a place where nobody else is looking, from buyer leads. What? You got it right, from buyer leads. Let me explain. According to the National Association of Realtors, first-time home buyers account for 40% of all real estate purchases. Now, this number is held constant for years, and it shows no indication of changing. One thing's for certain, none of these first-time home buyers are listing leads. Another 23% of home buyers are looking for investments, while 13% are purchasing vacation homes. Of the investment properties, some are bought to flip while others are bought to hold. The same is true with vacation homes. Many are bought to hold while many others are step-up purchases, resulting in potential listings as well. The best numbers from the NAR reflect the fact that 52% of all buyers are also selling. Some in the same markets as their new purchases and some in other markets. So more than half the buyer leads that you get will also be sellers. Well, here's the little known secret that will give you the first and hopefully only shot at those sellers. Buyer leads almost always find their replacement home before thinking of selling. Now, as professionals, we understand that this is not the proper way to handle it. But the human psyche is hardwired with a security need. We don't quit our job until we line up another. We don't sell our car until we find a new one. The same's true with real estate. The key to generating an unending supply of fresh listing leads is to generate lots of buyer leads, and then find the half who are selling too. In most of those cases, you have the opportunity to list a home without anyone else's even knowing it's going to be on the market. What a huge advantage. So, over half of the buyers will either have a home for you to list, or better yet, have a listing lead that you can refer back to their original market, giving you a referral with no work whatsoever. No picked over expireds, no FSBOs that know it all, just an endless supply of new seller leads with virtually no competition. This is the key to becoming the dominant listing agent in your market. Now, let me say something about the do not call list. In March of 2005, the FCC imposed a $770,000 fine on a Phoenix, Arizona mortgage company for violating the federal do not call law. The FCC alleged that Dynasty Mortgage made 70 calls to 50 homes in Arizona and California between March 2nd of 2004 and January 20th of 2005. And a fine of $11,000 per incident was imposed on 70 separate counts. And the company was given only 30 days to pay the fine. Curtis White, Dynasty's president, said that his company had extensive systems in place to try to ensure that any do not call numbers were not called. However, some calls may have been made mistakenly because of a flaw in the system, and the company is now working to fix the problem. If this doesn't make you think twice about cold calling, nothing will. I can remember many the day of cold calling when I would make more than 70 calls just in a day. It would have been easy to violate the DNC laws accidentally by calling homes that showed to be okay on the latest list, which may have been out of date at the time of the calls. And $11,000 is a huge marketing cost to incur accidentally. So, how can you be certain that this kind of disaster never happens to you? By only making prospecting calls to inbound leads. Listen, with Lead Capture Gateway technology, every single lead is permission-based. By this I mean that the lead has first contacted you and given you his phone number, and with it implied consent to market to him. The law is very clear on this fact, and in these instances there's a 3-month window of exemption from that date of inquiry. And it's easy enough to prove your innocence because you have a time and date stamped inquiry on file for each lead. Inbound internet leads are the safest of all leads to call, period. So how safe is your marketing? Do you have efficient lead capture on your website? If you don't, the first step to becoming a dominant real estate agent is having too many customers. You really have to start there. Everything else is second to that. Today, the lead vendors are spending lots of money tapping the internet, and if you're going to compete with them, you're going to have technology that places you on the same level with them. Otherwise, you'll find yourself depending on lead vendors for much of your business. So call us today at 800-708-7705, extension 7200, and we can help you find the technology you need. In the next session, we'll begin discussing the actual listing presentation that I used to list 114 homes in a single year, all at 8% or more. What's the key to building your credibility as a listing agent? How can you go up against the top agents in your market and come out with a listing? How can you be totally confident walking into every single listing presentation? How can you make your presentation different from every other agents in your market? Well, all these questions will be answered in the next session, so you really won't want to miss it. In the meantime, work on getting that technology and advertising in place. There's never going to be a better time to start than right now.